This man was joining a day at sea with his dog, not realizing disaster would soon strike. The weather suddenly changed, which caused his boat to capsize, and the man and his dog were thrown overboard. A year later, while trying to reunite with his dog, the man suddenly got arrested. The man lost his dog at sea after his boat capsized. A year later, he gets arrested. Archie had a busy life and felt that it was time to relax for a moment. He did this by spending a day on the sea with his dog, Bruno. The sun shone and the ocean breeze filled his lungs. This is it, Archie said, unaware that the weather was about to change drastically. When Archie eventually noticed the weather was changing, the waves were already so big they flooded the deck. He tried to steer the boat back toward the land with all his might, but his efforts were futile. Waves crashed and caused the ship to capsize, causing Archie and Bruno to be thrown overboard. The water was freezing cold, and Archie gasped for breath, frantically looking for something he could hold on to. Bruno, he yelled, but his voice was drowned out by the sounds of the ocean. Archie struggled to stay afloat, and the last thing he saw was his dog in the water. Then everything went black. What felt like seconds later, Archie opened his eyes. He winced as a bright light shone in his eyes. "What is?" Archie muttered while slowly opening them again. He was lying in a bed in a bright white room, but when he tried to get up, all sorts of alarms went off. Before he managed to sit upright, a woman came rushing into the room. There was a surprised look on her face, which quickly disappeared when she urged him to lie down. Before Archie could ask what was happening, the woman started to explain he was in the hospital and just awoke from a year-long coma. When Archie lay back down, the room started spinning, and he felt disorientated and confused. "A coma?" He mumbled, trying to wrap his head around this information before everything went black again. He kept falling in and out of consciousness for days while his memory slowly returned to him, and then suddenly, "Bruno!" Archie suddenly yelled one time when he awoke. All his memories of his dog and their final moment at sea together had returned. He asked the nurse where Bruno was, but the woman replied that she didn't know anything about a dog. It turned out Archie arrived alone at the hospital. Worrying thoughts shot through his mind. He arrived alone. So where was Bruno? Was he still alive? Archie searched for information, but no one knew anything to help him. He knew that his body needed to recover before he could leave the hospital, but in his mind, he was solely focused on finding his best friend. When the moment of Archie's discharge finally arrived, he did not waste a single second. He rushed home to get his tracking device. On this device, he could see Bruno's location thanks to a chip underneath his skin. "Yes!" Archie exclaimed when he opened the app. It still worked, but then his hope immediately faded. Archie zoomed out so he could see where Bruno's location was precisely. "That can't be," he whispered. According to the device, Bruno was out in the open sea. Was he at the boat after all this time? How was that possible? The device wouldn't get a signal from underwater. Archie didn't understand what was happening. He needed to know what was going on. So, against better judgment, he opened his laptop and searched for a ship and captain who could take him. Archie boarded Captain Harrison's boat not much later, ready to get to the bottom of it all, not knowing what he would uncover. It took them hours to get even close to the location, and Archie's hope started to fade when they eventually did. All they could see was just the vast ocean. "Come on, show me something," Archie said to himself. They were getting closer and closer, but there was no sign of Bruno until the captain suddenly called out and pointed. Archie followed the captain's outstretched arm with his eyes and looked into the distance. Both men gasped when they looked from the horizon to the map. "That can't be right," Captain Harrison said while looking at the island. "That isn't on the map," he exclaimed. Confused by this unexpected finding, the men agreed to steer toward the island. Soon after, Archie noticed the dot on his device was coming closer. Archie's mind was racing. That's it. Bruno was on the island. He managed to get on an island and survive. Archie instructed the captain to hurry and dock the boat. The sea was fierce, so it took all the captain's efforts to dock the ship in a way that Archie could go onto the land. Eventually, he succeeded but told Archie he wouldn't join him on the island. Archie understood and left the boat in pursuit of his dog. Or so he thought. "I'm coming for you, buddy," Archie said when he looked at the device again. He zoomed in on the dot and saw its location was further on the island. Archie looked up, saw a dense forest, and took one last glance back before walking in. Finding Bruno wasn't going to be easy. Archie kept moving directly toward the dot. A half hour passed without him seeing anything but trees. Then something appeared in view. He ran toward it and suddenly stopped when he came into a clearing. A colossal structure was built inside some sort of dip of the land, and the dot appeared to be inside it. His hope rose. A building meant there would be people who could take care of Bruno. Archie walked around to look for a door to enter the massive concrete structure. When he finally found an entrance and tried to approach, a sudden voice called out behind him. Oh, they're right there. Archie was startled so badly, it felt like his feet left the ground for a brief moment. He wanted to turn around to see who had spoken, but before he moved a muscle, someone grabbed him with extensive force and immobilized him. What are you doing? Archie exclaimed, taken by surprise. With his face down flat on the ground, Archie felt something tighten around his wrist. He was being cuffed. Moments later, he felt two pairs of hands grab him and lift him. Archie blinked furiously to get the sand out of his eyes and saw three men wearing uniforms before him. Before Archie fully processed what was happening, two of the guards escorted him toward the building while the other one led the way. They bombarded Archie with questions, asking who he was and why he was there. Archie was overwhelmed and didn't know what to say, what was going on. Where had he gotten mixed up? What was this place? Archie felt his heart throb in his throat as the questions flew through his mind. He tried to look around for signs or indications about what this place could possibly be, but there was nothing that gave him any idea until the guards kept pushing and pulling him harshly. They entered the building and walked through another door leading into a long hallway. The guard leading the way had stopped asking questions, and Archie looked out of the windows that lined the wall. His eyes grew wide when he saw a big room filled with cages. Archie gasped and opened his mouth to say something, but quickly closed it. Realizing he better keep it shut around these guards, he managed to take another look into the room and make sure he saw it right the first time. To his horror, he did see it correctly. Those cages were filled with animals. They continued walking through the building. Where are you taking me? Archie screamed. His mind was racing from what he had seen. This place couldn't be anything good. His panic made his body tense up and his legs gave way, causing the guards to forcefully pick him up and drag him into a room. They dumped Archie in a chair, and his fears would become true. Who are you and what are you doing here? Demanded the one Archie deemed the leader. A place this heavily guarded and acting so suspicious of someone wandering around would have something to hide, he thought. What should he do? Archie started. He hesitated as he didn't know the right thing to do. The things he had seen and the guard's behavior indicated something was off. Were these people dangerous? Should he come up with a story? Or should he just tell the truth? Archie took a deep breath and decided. The guards were still staring at him, waiting for his answer. So Archie started to explain what he was doing here, how he woke up from a coma and lost his dog at sea, and that his tracking device showed it was here, hoping that telling the truth would be the right decision. But Archie immediately realized things wouldn't turn out fine as the guards smirked at each other.
Yeah.
Right? One of them said, while they grabbed him again, maybe you will tell us more after a few days of isolation. The other one said as they led him further into the building. Realizing things were going downhill very fast, Archie tried to make a break for it. He struggled but couldn't fight his way out of the iron hold the two guards had on him. Is this how it ends? Archie thought as he saw the guard in front opening a door to a dark room. They all entered, and then something unexpected happened. Archie was pushed down to the ground, but just after he hit the ground, he heard two thuds next to him. With his hands cuffed, he lay motionless on the ground, trying to pierce the darkness for a clue to what was going on. Then suddenly, the light switched on, and the unexpected brightness hurt his eyes. Archie still couldn't see anything, but a voice asked him if he was all right. He recognized that voice, but who was it? Once Archie opened his eyes, he was confused to see it was the leader, but that wasn't the biggest surprise. Archie's eyes grew wide with surprise while the leader helped him up. Laying motionless on the floor next to him were the two guards who were holding him just moments ago. What is going on? Archie asked hesitantly. But he could never have expected the response he got when the leader started to explain. The guard explained he believed Archie's story about him searching for his dog and knew he didn't have bad intentions. The man knew this because he was an undercover agent who was sent to infiltrate this facility to gather intel and evidence. But you change everything. The agent continued confusing Archie. Archie took a moment to process the unexpected turn of events. An undercover agent to gather evidence for what? And why did he change everything? The questions flooded out of his mouth. The agent responded by saying he couldn't turn his back on a civilian in need, not in an illegal testing facility, he added. The agent tied the guards up and urged Archie to follow him quickly. The agent was confident he could get Archie away before anyone would realize it and still keep his cover. Archie, still trying to process everything, was halfway down the hallway when he realized why he was there in the first place. Bruno! He halted his step immediately, and his eyes darted from cage to cage on the other side of the window. Then a horrific thought entered his mind. What if they were testing on Bruno? He had to get his dog out of there. Whatever the agent said, he couldn't leave without Bruno. The agent approached and grabbed him by the shoulder, urging him to come. "We have to hurry," the agent said frustratingly, but Archie stood his ground and explained what he wanted. The agent looked dumbfounded, but switched gears instantly, realizing Archie wouldn't come with him without his dog. "Okay, this way then," he said. Archie followed the agent without a slither of doubt. The man had just rescued him from a dire situation thanks to the agent's knowledge of the building. The duo could maneuver through it without being detected. "How much further?" Archie whispered, hoping to be reunited with his dog soon. But then everything changed. The agent turned around. Archie assumed it was to answer his question, but he was mistaken. Within seconds, the agent closed the distance between them, and he got Archie in an iron hold. "What are you doing?" Archie exclaimed when he felt cuffs on his wrists again. Had it all been a sham? They turned the corner, and Archie saw two men standing guard. Was he going to hand him over to them? His heart sank when the agent asked the guards for help transporting him, but then the agent suddenly whispered in Archie's ear, and he regained his hope. "Trust me," the whisper sounded. Everything that followed seemed to go down in slow motion. When the guards came over to help, the agent pushed Archie into them. For a brief moment, they were distracted, and this was enough for the agent to take advantage and neutralize them. Before Archie knew it, he was inside the room with the cages. There are rows and rows of cages filled with all kinds of animals. Together, they scour the room and find where the dogs are being held pretty fast. "Bruno!" Archie yelled when he saw his dog. He quickly opened the cage and nodded to the agent, ready to leave. But then a loud, deep sound goes off and red lights fill the room. An alarm. "Shit," the agent mumbled as he realized they were too slow and his cover was blown. "Let's go," he yelled while gesturing for Archie to follow. They hurried through the building and saw the exit, but the situation seemed dire. The emergency protocol was activated and the exit was slowly closing. If they didn't make it out now, they wouldn't be stuck here. They ran as fast as they could, and Bruno sprinted before them. Archie and the agent dove as a last-ditch effort to get out of the building. They rolled on the floor and heard the door close behind them. Archie breathed a massive sigh of relief, but the agent wasn't sitting still and urged him to get away as fast as possible. Archie led the agent toward his ship, during which he couldn't help but notice the man looked unhappy. "What's up?" Archie asked when they were almost at the ship. The agent started to explain he had mixed feelings. He was happy to rescue Archie, but would have liked to gather more evidence as he wasn't sure he had enough. But to the agent's surprise, Archie thought of something to solve that problem. Archie suggested that he could be considered as evidence. He was inside the building and could function as a witness. The agent thought about it for a moment and nodded in agreement. When they arrived on the mainland, they brought the illegal animal testing on the island to light with their combined effort. Once the facility was shut down, the agent came over to Archie's house to share this news and also to thank him for his help. Archie had a big smile on his face and said it was no problem. After everything they had been through, he was just happy to be reunited with his dog.